Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. Today we will be going over the Warden Healer for Update 32 Deadlands DLC. In the last update to this build, we added the ability to proc a damage shield to anyone that we hit with a critical heal. I did more digging on the build to see if there was any way to improve the build. So this time around we changed some of the champion points around so we could improve the group's recovery and be able to give off stronger damage shields to the group. I also wanted to have the ability to cleanse the group. I didn't want to use up a skill slot that was very heavy costing cleanse that we did in the past. That way we could use a more useful skill for the group. So I went ahead with the set that can cleanse up to 3 negative effects from the group, which to me is really nice for keeping allies protected. On top of doing this, we also restore 600 magicka back to the target that we cleanse. This is really important in magicka based groups, especially since you will most likely keep them topped off with magicka. Not only for the DPS but for the tank as well, since tanks usually use a magicka based heal to keep them alive. Now, if you would like to learn more about this Warden Healer that is designed to be a mobile healer and debuff enemies, I will be going over the stats, what skills I like to use, what kind of passives are active, what gear makes this build tick, and last, what is the CP setup for my current level. All of this is coming up next. So starting off into our character sheet, with max magicka sitting at 34,900, almost about 35k. Max health is sitting at 22,400, but that will go up, we'll show here in a little bit, with max stam at 14,300. Recoveries are going to go up as well with popping our abilities here and our potion. So we'll pop our potion and we'll pop our ability here, with our magicka recovery at 3,100, health recovery at 5,700, and stam recovery was a little bit higher than that. I got a champion point buff that actually increases that. As you can see, our max health is now sitting at 24,500 instead of 22,000. The damage on this build, spell damage is sitting at 3,400 for a little bit, with a spell critical rating of 28.4%. For attributes on the build, we want 64 points into magicka again, because since this is a magicka base healer, we are putting all of our points in magicka, because the more magicka we have, the stronger our heals can be and the more resources we have to keep heals up and active. For the boon or Mundus stone that we are running on this, we are running the ritual. This is just to increase our healing done by 12% to give us a lot stronger of heals. Now, going over into our skills. Starting on our front bar, our first, and before we go over where the skills are located and stuff, the skills here, you don't have to put it in the order I have them in. This is just what floats for me. If you want to, you could put budding cids here as left bumper, right bumper, B, whatever. Just kind of put it where you feel like putting it. But there are some skills on this bar for certain reasons later on in the passive, so just keep that in mind. So let's start off with our first one. It is down into the green balance skill line. It is the second ability to unlock, starts off as healing seed. We then morph it to budding seed. We can cast out to 28 meters with an 8-meter radius that lasts for 6 seconds. This will create an area of effect heal that will bloom flowers for 6 seconds, healing allies in the area for 14,192 health. And while the field is currently growing, we will heal allies in the area for 1,700 health every 1 second. Now, we can activate this ability again to get an instant bloom, which it will be that 14,100 health that we give to the group. Nice thing about this too is this is actually a synergy called Harvest, which if an ally uses it, will heal for 13,300 health over 5 seconds. So a nice little thing to give synergies. On top of it, allies will get whatever they get for popping synergies later in passives. We'll talk about that too, on what passive actually allows them to actually get a little bit more. So they're, instead of just getting health for this, they're also getting a little bit more health and magicka and stam as well. Next ability is down into the Restoration Staff skill line. With the first ability to unlock, starts off as Grand Healing, we then morph it to Illustrious Healing. This is also up to 28 meters with 8-meter radius. Lasts for 12 seconds. This will heal us or allies in the target area for 2,500 health, and then an additional 2,500 health every 1 second for the 12-second duration. Next ability we have is also in the Restoration skill line. Starts off, it's the second ability to unlock, starts off as Regeneration. Morph it to Radiating Regeneration. This is up to 28 meters, lasting for 10 seconds. This will share energy with our staff to heal us or up to 3 nearby allies for 24,600 health over 10 seconds. So basically what this ability means is you'll cast your staff and it'll be you and 2 other allies. If we're just gonna say in a 4-man group, it'll be either you and 2 allies or it'll be your 3 other allies is who this heals. Is basically what it is. So most of the time we like to double cast this just to make sure we kind of get everybody with it. This is the way that I typically do it, but use it kind of how you want to. Next ability we have is back up into our Animal Companion skill line. It is the third ability to unlock. Starts off as Swarm. We then morph it to Growing Swarm. Yes, we did change the morph on this one from last patch. We want the stamina based on this one up to 28 meters. You can cast this with 5-meter radius. And that's the reason we went with this, because this is a 5-meter radius. Because what this will do is when we target an enemy, they'll end up starting to bleed for 6,100 bleed damage over 10 seconds. Granted, Magicka would probably be a little bit higher. But on top of it too is we will also inflict enemies with minor vulnerability for the duration, increasing their damage taken by 5%. So our DPS can hit a lot harder with this build, with this skill I should say. So that's going to be really nice. But why we want the Stam morph is because enemies near the carrier also take 681 bleed damage every 2 seconds for the duration. So we're kind of doing a little bit of DPS as a healer too, so we're kind of doing some damage as well. So if your tank is really good and groups the ads, we cast this in on the biggest target that needs to probably take the most amount of damage, will actually affect everything around that target as well, up to 5 meters. Is why we went with the Growing Swarm this time around. Next ability we have is down into the Restoration Staff skill line. It is the third ability to unlock. Starts off as Blessing of Protection. We then morph it to Combat Prayer. This is a 20 by 8 meters, so 8 meters wide by 20 meters long rectangle shape. It lasts for 8 seconds. We will heal allies in front of us, which includes ourselves. We'll heal ourselves as well for 7,800 health, but we don't really want to use it as a heal necessarily. What we really want to use it for is giving our allies Minor Berserk and Minor Resolve. So this increases our allies' damage done by 5% and the physical and spell resistance by 2,900 for 8 seconds. So it's kind of really nice to us to kind of up that damage, and that's kind of what our job as a healer is, really up that damage along with healing people as well. Also playing a little bit of a protector there as well with more resistance so that our allies don't take as much damage. They'll take still a good amount, but not as much as they would before. Now for the ultimate on this bar, we are all the way up into the Green Bounce skill line. We did also change this morph. We went from Secluded Grove to Healing Thicket. This is also a 28 meter range we can cast this out to with 8 meters. It lasts for 6 seconds with a low cost of 90 ultimate, so it's really nice to have a nice little low ulti costing ability. So what we do is we heal friendly targets for 11,400 health in the area, and as on the most injured target in the area. And then what this ends up doing is it continues to heal allies in the area for 4,000 every 1 second for 6 seconds. Now the healing over time will continue to heal us and allies for 4 seconds after leaving the forest, which I thought was a little bit nicer. Instead of the initial heal on the other morph was if it was on a target below 50% health, we got 20 ultimate, which is kind of nice, but we kind of like to keep allies a little bit topped off with health on this build, so I figured this one was a little bit better to go with. Other good choice you could go with this one is you could go with Sleet Storm, morph it to Northern Storm. That is in the Winter's Embrace skill line. Because what this one does is we'll end up calling a storm around us that deals 3,500 frost damage every 1 second for 8 seconds. And then enemies around us, we reduce their movement speed by 40%. So we kind of slow them down, make it easier to group. But the nice part is we also increase our max magicka by 15% for 30 seconds. So we're at like 35k. So yeah, we're gonna have quite a bit of magicka for the 30 seconds after casting this one. The nice part about this is nearby allies gain major protection, reducing their damage taken by 10%. So if we really want to kind of play more of a protector, if you don't have an other warden tank, let's say, or a other warden class with you that's not providing this, this would be a very good one to apply as well for heavy damage environments. Now going over into the back bar. First ability we have is all the way down into the Undaunted skill line. It is the 5th ability to unlock, starts off as Necro Orb. We then morph it to Energy Orb. This is an 8-meter radius that lasts for 10 seconds with a orb that floats slowly forward, healing everybody for 1,900 health every 1 second to us and allies. But what we really like to use this ability for is actually the synergy that can be activated with Healing Combustion, which explodes the healing for 8,200 health to nearby allies and restoring 3,900 magicka or stam to the person who activated it. And this is whatever their maximum is higher. So if they got high magicka, they will get magicka back. If they got high stam, they'll get stam back. So it's kind of really nice to kind of, typically we try to feed this to the tank because this is kind of giving them their resources. But I like to use Energy Orb along with our Budding Seeds for access. What I like to usually try to cast down the tank for that synergy. Next ability we have is up into our Destruction Staff skill line. It is the 2nd ability to unlock, starts off as Wall of Elements. We then morph it to Elemental Blockade. This is an 18 by 12 meter area, so it's 12 meters wide by 18 meters deep, rectangle shape that lasts for 14 seconds. That will deal 1,000 magicka damage to enemies in the target area every 1 second. And since we are using a lightning staff on this build, it is Blockade of Storms, which will deal 9,700 or 900 shock damage to enemies in the target area every 1 second and set concuss enemies off balance for 7 seconds. Now, why did we go with a lightning staff and not, let's say, a frost staff? Well, a lightning staff, since it's a wall field of storms, it's technically called splash lightning damage, and splash lightning in the game has a chance to affect enemies with minor vulnerability, kind of like how our swarm does. So this is a way to kind of cast minor vulnerability on a group of ads instead of on a single target. However, this, it's a chance. It's not a guaranteed you're going to be applying the minor vulnerability. It's a chance that you can proc it. Unless you have the charge trait, then charge might have a better chance, or should have a really better chance of proccing the minor vulnerability to it. That's why we went with the lightning. Ice staff typically are on tanks just to give damage shields. Yes, we could have probably went with the damage shield on this and just kind of, I shouldn't say damage shield, a projectile damage shield. We could have went with an ice staff for that if we wanted to, but I thought lightning was a little bit better just to help debuff the enemies a little bit better. Now, next ability we have is up into the Green Balance skill line. It is the 1st ability to unlock, starts off as Fungal Growth. We then morph it to Enchanted Growth. This is a cone target up to 20 meters. So what a cone target means is basically a triangle shape from you out, almost kind of like a pizza slice or, your ice cream cone shape. That's what a cone shape means. But you'll heal you and your allies for 8,900 health in that target area. But what we really like about this is any of the targets that we heal get minor intellect and minor endurance, increasing their magicka and stamina recovery by 15% for 20 seconds. So we are now increasing our allies' recovery rate. So this is really, really nice to keep everything going and flowing smoothly. That way Tanks have higher magicka recovery so they can heal more often, keeping our DPS at higher recovery so they don't have to heavy attack so much, so they can keep on their rotations instead of having to heavy attack so often. Now, getting into these last two slots that we have on our bar, these are technically going to be our flex spots. I know it's weird to say that you actually have technically two flex spots, but you do. So in our first one here, we have the Winter's Embrace. Down in the Winter's Embrace, we have Expansive Frost Cloak here. This is just increase our allies' Major Resolve, give everybody Major Resolve to increase their physical and spell resistance by 5,900 for 20 seconds. Just to basically try to kind of let everybody, especially if you're in like a heavy hitting environment, this is kind of really nice if you don't have, let's say, a Warden tank already applying this, to apply to the group just to increase everybody's resistance and give everybody that Major Resolve. Yes, I know a tank probably already has Major Resolve going, but this is to help your squishy DPS survive a little bit better. Another good one that we could do here is down in Destruction Staff skill line, which is the first ability with Force Shock, morph it to Crushing Shock. This will end up focusing our staff, blasting an enemy with 1,900 flame damage, 2,100 frost, and 1,900 shock damage. Now, the main reason we would maybe want to use this ability is if an enemy needs to be interrupted, because this will interrupt an enemy who is casting, sets them off balance, and stuns them 3 seconds. So this is kind of what we want to use, especially if you are in a dungeon that needs a lot of interrupts being done and the tank can't just run everywhere. Just to kind of help the tank out, we use Crushing Shot here just to kind of pop them off balance a little bit so they quit channeling their stuff. Another one we can use is down here in the Destruction Staff, the fourth ability, weakness to element, do Elemental Drain. This lasts for 23 seconds, costs us nothing to cast it, which is nice. This applies Major Breach to the enemy we affect for 23 seconds, reducing their physical and spell resistance by 5,900. We also apply minor Magicka Steal to the enemy for 23 seconds, causing us and our allies to restore 168 Magicka, sorry, not 1,000, it's 168 Magicka every 1 second when damaging them. Just kind of nice. Reason why we want to use this is, let's say a tank is having trouble actually tanking a couple of ads and can't really focus a bunch of them. We can sit there and focus one ad with this that really needs to be debuffed, and we can debuff him with this. That way, if, let's say, tank's off on one side, let's say Moonhunter Keep. Moonhunter Keep tanks on the very final boss is on Vykosa and Zell or Ari, one of the two, and you and the DPS are probably on the other wolf chained to the wall. This would be a good one to apply to that one so your DPS can kill Zell or Zari a little bit faster. Now for the last ability we have is in the Animal Companion skill line. It is the fourth ability to unlock is Betty Netch. We then morph it to Blue Betty. This will cost us nothing. This will restore about 5,000 Magicka to us over 25 seconds. So roughly, every 5 seconds, 500 Magicka roughly. This will also give us Major Brutality and Sorcery, increasing our weapon spell damage by 20%. And every 5 seconds, the net removes one negative effect from us, which is really nice for cleanse. But later on in the build, you'll realize that I actually do have something to give me a cleanse. And the potions I'm kind of running, we don't really need to use this, but it's still something if you're kind of having trouble with keeping up your potions, then you could probably use Blue Betty just to make it a little bit easier. A good one to switch this out with is we could use Deceptive Predator, the fifth ability here. Starts off as Falcon Swiftness, morph it to Deceptive Predator. This, when we use it, will give us Major Expedition for 6 seconds, increasing our movement speed by 30%. But the main reason why we would really actually want to use this is we get Minor Evasion, which reduces damage from area of attacks by 10%. So kind of when we get into a lot of area of attack battles, this is really nice to have just to reduce that damage that we take. Or if you, let's say, need to do a critical res most of the time when you're away from the boss or something, most of the time they'll throw an area of effect at you, so it's kind of nice to have this slotted, pop a bunch of your heals on the ground, and get that critical res that you kind of need with Deceptive Predator on. But yeah, we can, and that's not saying how I listed it for left bumper and right bumper, that's kind of what you want to switch in and out. You don't have to switch it like that. If I want to, you could do, oh, if I need to debuff the enemy, we will go Elemental Drain, and if I need to balance someone, we could pop it there. That's what I'm saying. We kind of have flex spots in these two spots here, kind of depending on what you want to run. Now for the ultimate on this bar, we are all the way down into the Assault skill line. Starts off as Warhorn. We morphed it to Aggressive Warhorn for 20 meters out for 30 seconds. We give us and our group members Max Magicka and Max Stam by 10% for 30 seconds. What we really want to use this for is to give that major force, increasing the critical damage by 20% for 10 seconds. That's why we really want to use this. Okay, now it's time to go over the passives for the build. So we're going to start here at the top, and for the passives for the build, I'm just going to be going over the key passives. I still highly recommend you go through and read all the passives, since I will not be covering every single one here. Now, like I said, starting in the Animal Companion one, the one that I think is probably the most useful for us is Flourish, which increases our magic and stamina recovery by 12% for an Animal Companion ability slotted. So again, on our back bar, if we have the Blue Betty, we get 12% there. Front bar, we got Swarm, so that gives us our 12% there. And like I said, that's kind of why I would switch Blue Betty with Deceptive Predator if you really don't need it, just to kind of keep your recovery up. But again, if you don't think your recovery is needed, since we got 3,100 recovery, if you think that's a little overkill, then there we go, we're kind of good there. Next, we're going to go into the Green Balance skill line. The one that I thought was really important here was the Accelerated Growth. This is when you heal yourself or an ally under 40% health with a Green Balance ability. We gain Major Mending, increasing our healing done by 16% for 4 seconds, so it's kind of nice to give that nice little boost heal for the group or to yourself when you do this type of thing. I'd say also Nature's Gift is pretty good too, because this will, whenever we heal an ally with a Green Balance ability, we also gain 250 Magicka or Stam, whichever resource pool is lower, and this can occur once every 1 second, so it's kind of nice just to kind of get a little bit, help us stay afloat a little bit longer with our resources as well. Then the next one I would probably say is Maturation here. Hang on a second. Sorry about that. Yeah, this will end up giving us minor toughness, increasing our max health by 10% for 20 seconds. And that's anybody we heal, so it doesn't have to be, let's say, a Green Balance skill. We can use it with our Illustrious Springs, we can use it with Combat Prayer, we can use it with Radiating Regeneration. This will be increase our health and anybody else that we heal, so that's why it's kind of really, really nice to have this one. Winter's Embrace, nothing I guess really too fancy here. That's only if we do slot Expansive Frost Cloak or Northern Stone, but still some of these are just kind of nice to have, so like I said, just make sure to kind of read through them type of thing. Let's go down into the Destruction Staff skill line. Ones that I found here was probably Elemental Force, which increases the chance to apply the status effect by 100%, so gives us a better chance to apply the lightning status effect, which would be Minor Vulnerability, which is kind of nice to have a better chance of doing that. Down into the Restoration Staff skill line, I would say let's Essence Drain is kind of nice. We gain Major Mending for 4 seconds after completing a charged heavy attack, which increases our healing done by 16%. So you got a couple of options on how to get Major Mending to increase the strength of your heals. But the nice part about this is the target that we are hitting, if an ally is within 15 meters of that target, after our heavy's done, we heal that target for, or we heal our ally for 62% of that damage inflicted to that target after that heavy attack, which is kind of nice. So we actually heal him for, couldn't heal him for a decent amount, so it's kind of nice to heavy attack on the resto staff. Then we have Restoration Expert, increasing our healing by 15% on allies under 30% health. So yes, the lower the health goes on our allies for this type of Warden build heal, the stronger our heals are going to be. So we're going to heal a lot stronger the lower health, but still highly recommend to keep your allies topped off the best you can. It's just when it comes to that oh snap everybody's dying moment, you can kind of pull through with him. Then Cycle of Life, our fully charged heavy attacks restore 30% more magicka, so that's why we really want to try to if we're going to ever do a heavy attack, try to heavy attack with our resto, especially if we need resources, is because the resto staff is going to give us a lot more resources back compared to the destruction staff. Then last, I would probably say Restoration Master, which increases our healing with restoration staff spells by 5%. So just keeping those up par with the other green balance skill line stuff. Now over into the armor. We are going to start with the light armor here. Pretty much a lot of this is going to give us more magicka recovery. There's reduced cost to magicka abilities, spell and weapon critical, there's spell and physical penetration, along with like other bonuses and penalties that come along with wearing light armor, with penalties listed here and bonuses listed here. In the medium armor skill line, this will actually give us more stam recovery, reduced cost of stam abilities, there's critical damage and healing done, there's weapon and spell damage, and other bonuses. Yes, medium armor does not get penalties, they only get bonuses, so really nice for that. And then over into the heavy armor, this is where you'll find like places to have more resistances. There's health recovery here, there's resources restored when you're taking damage, there's max health along with other bonuses, and also they have penalties as well, with penalties listed here and bonuses as well. Soul magic, soul summoner is a good one to have, which again, if we could upgrade it again, which allows us to revive once every hour without spending a soul gem, just to save some soul gems as well. We don't really got anything here. Fighter's Guild, I just got an intimidating presence just because that's for questing, and same with persuasive will for questing purposes. Excuse me. And then in the Undaunted, we have Undaunted Command. This is where I was talking about like activating synergies earlier in this build, that activating a synergy restores 4% of our max health, stam, and magicka, so we get 1,200 health, 573 stam, and 1,300, almost 1,400 magicka back. So again, like I said earlier, as I was talking about synergies with DPS, they'll have the kind of their own when activating resources. So if they got Undaunted Command as well in those DPS, they'll get their bonuses as well. For Undaunted Metal, this increases our max health, stam, and magic by 2% per type of armor worn, and we are wearing at least one of each, so we get 6% there. And the Assault just continuous attack is just for mostly movement speed of your horses, so just something as you level up can apply to. For the race here, we are running the Argonian. Other good races you could run here is you got High Elf, would be a really good choice for a healer. You also got Breton if you want more recovery than what I already have. That way you can kind of switch some things later in the build as we talk about to, let's say, more damage and stuff like that. But basically any race could be a healer. It's just typically a lot of people either play like High Elf, Argonian, Breton, Dark Elf, and stuff like that. So, and I went with the Argonian because we got Life Mender, increasing our healing done by 6%, so it's kind of nice just to have a lot more healing power behind us. We have Argonian Resistance, increasing our max health by 1,000, and Disease and Poison Resistance by 2,300. Pretty much that nice health just so I don't have to focus so much points into health because I already got that little health bonus. Then we have Resourceful, increasing our max magicka and stam by 1,000. and drinking a potion gives us 3,100 health, magic, and stamina. So kind of being a potion popper, we keep our resources pretty topped off as well. So that's kind of why I like running the Argonian on my healer here. For alchemy, you will want to get medicinal use when using a potion. Effects last 30% longer. So at base, your potions only last, like the effects on it only last 36 seconds with the potion cooldown of 45. So you got 9 seconds of where you're not getting any buffs from your potions. With medicinal use, you got it for 47 seconds, so you have 100% uptime with, or could have 100% uptime with your potions effects. So get medicinal use, best passive in the game. Then we're gonna go down all the way into provisioning. I went with Consier because this adds 20 minutes to the duration of any consumed drink. So that way, when I pop my drink buff, it lasts a lot longer compared to others who maybe don't have Consier. So that way I don't have to use so many resources to keep making food pots and foods and drinks type of things. If you were using a food on your build, then you want gourmet because this will add 20 minutes to the duration of that. So keep in mind, food is gourmet, drinks are Consier. So if you end up changing things on the build, that's like foods and drinks, that's where you want to kind of make your changes, is right here. Now going over the gear and stuff. So we're gonna start with our slottables. So what I am running is the Ghastly Eye Bull. This just increases my max magicka by 4,500 and magicka recovery by 459 for 2.5 hours. So basically we're just kind of maxing out our resources here. If you're having trouble surviving, very good one to run would be the not Bewitch, Mother's Potent Brew. Sorry, I couldn't think of it. Had a little bit of a slip up there, but yeah. Potent Brew is what you want to probably run if you need a little bit more health. Again, though, if you run that, your magic is going to kind of suffer and your recovery is going to suffer a little bit. So this is kind of maxing out your magicka and your magicka recovery. For potions that I use Essence of Spell Power. This gives me major sorcery, increasing my spell damage by 20%. Major Prophecy, increasing my spell critical rating by 2,600. And this gives me 7,500 magicka back and gives me Major Intellect, increasing my magicka recovery by 30% for 47 seconds. This is where medicinal use comes into play. And this is why we probably don't need to run the Blue Betty, is because Blue Betty gives us major sorcery. So since we are popping it on our potions, we don't need it. But if you're going to plan on running Blue Betty, then I'd probably say in the potions here, you don't need major sorcery. You'll just need your Major Prophecy and Restore Magicka. Now over into our weapons. We have the Spell Power Cure Restoration Staff on our front bar with the Weakening Enchantment, reduces target weapon and spell damage by 320. Just to kind of lower the damage output that they do to us and the group members. You could do like Absorb Magicka if you need more Magicka back. Stam if you need that Stam back from your Swarm's ability. Stuff like that. Trait, we want Power just to increase our healing down by 8%, just to give us a lot better healing power. The Spell Power Cure set. For 2 pieces, it gives us 1,000 max Magicka. 3, it also gives us another 1,000 max Magicka. 4-piece bonus, we get 124 weapon and spell damage. And the 5-piece bonus is when we overheal yourself or an ally, we give them Major Courage for 5 seconds, which increases their weapon and spell damage by 430. So by keeping heals active and going and just kind of doing what you're supposed to do, simple, you're gonna make sure pretty much everybody has Major Courage up all the time. I know some people say, well, we could use Alarime here. Yes, Alarime is a trial set, and yes, we probably got different bonuses, but to me, this was kind of keeping it simple, per se, on an easy set to kind of get. That way you don't need to try to find a 12-man group. Some people maybe don't even have access to trials, so this is kind of just getting you into your trials, so that way you could then go collect Alarime if you want to switch Alarime out with this set. back bar is the lightning staff with the crusher enchantment. Since we got wall of shock, it has a better chance to proc the enchantments on it, so with the crusher enchantment we reduce the target's physical and spell resistance by 1800, so it makes it a lot easier for our allies to, when attacking that ad or enemy or mob or whatever, that if their resistance is lower, they're gonna take more damage from our allies. So that's why we wanted it, and we want infuse just to increase the potency of that crusher enchantment. For the monster helm on this build, we want Symphony of Blades. We end up having the max health enchantment on this one with divine traits, which divine traits is going to be on every single body piece here, just an FYI. And the Symphony of Blades, this gives us a 4% healing done. And when you heal an ally under 50% of their primary resources, we give them Meridian's Favor, which restores 556 magicka and stam every 1 second for 6 seconds. And this can occur once every 18 seconds per target. So you can proc this on multiple targets at different times and just kind of keep things going if they fall below 50% of their primary resource. And that's the thing, it's based off their highest resource. So higher stam, they get stam back. Higher magicka, they get magicka back. Next piece we have here is a little bit of a change. We have the curse eating jerkin with max magicka enchantment here. Again, everything on the body from the head to the feet is all in divine trait. Now the curse eating set, this is 1000 max magicka, gives us 124 magicka recovery for 3 and 4 piece bonus. And the 5th piece bonus here is when we heal ourselves or an ally with a direct heal ability, remove up to 3 negative effects from them. If a negative effect was removed this way, your target restores 678 magicka, and this effect can occur once every 8 seconds per target. So every 8 seconds you kind of can give your ally a cleanse, which is really, really nice. Now a direct heal is technically our radiant regeneration. It's our B button here. This is a direct heal because this is an area of effect, this is an area of effect, this one is also an area of effect. Even our budding seeds here is an area of effect even here. So technically our only heal ability is this. So it's pretty important that we kind of cast our radiating regeneration quite often, because that will be the only one that kind of procs it. And again, I know some people will Blue Betty removes of negative effects. Yes, Blue Betty does, but just kind of finding other options out there. If you prefer, we can go back to our combat physician like we had last patch, or last time I did the build update, which gives us max magicka, critical chance, and critical chance. And then whenever we critically heal ourselves or an ally, we grant or target a damage shield that absorbs 4100 damage for 6 seconds. And this can occur once every 6 seconds per target. So I was kind of finding a way to add a cleanse to the build. That way you can kind of protect your allies a little bit easier. So because they're not taking, let's say if they get affected by the flame damage, now they're taking flame damage over time for like 4 seconds or something like that. You know, it's trying to find ways to protect our allies a little bit better, because we have different ways to get a damage shield, which will be in the champion points. Shoulders is Symphony of Blade, max magicka enchantment. Waist, hands, legs, feet are all Curse Eater with max magicka enchantment on them. And then for the necks and rings, this will be our spell power cure. With the neck we did spell damage here, healthy trait on this one. Rings are all magicka recovery with arcane trait on them, which if you want to, since we have 3100 magicka recovery for a 5-second duration, if you think you got probably maybe too much magicka recovery and you want more spell damage, then we could probably enchant these 2 spell damage just to give us a little bit bigger of heals and stronger heals if we feel like our recovery is really, really well on the build. Now over into the champion point system. We'll start in, let's just go in the green tree. Slottables I have is Treasure Hunter, just to have better quality items than Treasure Chest. rationer, just add 30 minutes to the duration of the food or drink, so it almost lasts 3 hours instead of 2 hours in the past. We have liquid efficiency, just a 10% chance not to consume our potions or poisons that we may use. And then the Seed's Blessing, just to increase our movement speed by 20% out of combat. Yes, a lot of these other ones here are really nice, like finding gold, increase the gold gain, amount of gold we find treasures and safe boxes, reduce the cost of way shrine usage. Our weapon enchantments have a 50% chance not to consume a charge. There's reduced fall damage, and there's also when you resurrect yourself for another play, you have a 33% chance not to consume a soul gem, just to save more on the soul gems there. Over into the blue tree where a lot of our power is, we have for our slottables, we have Soothing Tide, increase the healing done by of area effects by 10%. We have Swift Renewal, increasing our healing done with healing over time effects by 10%. And then down into here we have Ever Living Overflow, which over healing ourselves or an ally grants some health, magicka, and stamina recovery equal to 0.5 of our max magicka, up to a cap of 150 for 6 seconds, and this can happen once every 12 seconds per target. Whereas since we got a lot of magicka, we do give 150 more magicka, stam, or health, magicka, and stam recovery. Now here's where our damage shield now comes in play with the build. With From the Brink is whenever we heal ourselves or an ally under 25% health, we give them a damage shield that absorbs up to 11,000 damage because it's out of 50 points. Excuse me there. For 6 seconds. And this can occur once every 30 seconds per target. I know it's not as quick as, let's say, our combat physician, but I figured since it was a lot stronger of a damage shield, it would help out quite nice. And then we got Bless here just to increase our healing done. And then things for more magicka here, there's more stam here, there's a critical chance. We also got like better chance of like infecting the magical status effect, more weapon and spell damage to our magicka flame, frost, and shock damage abilities. And then over here we got like the ability to have more resistance, reduce damage from flame, frost, and shock damage, just damage in general. And you have hardy with physical, poison, disease, and bleed damage. And then here, increase our healing taken. Then over into the red tree for slottables, we have Boundless Vitality for more max health, Fortified for more armor, just to make us a little bit more tankier, that way we don't maybe take quite as much damage. Rejuvenate, just to keep up our recovery. And then our last slottable here is Expert Invasion, just whenever we roll dodge, it doesn't cost stam to do it, but if we do another one within 30 seconds, it's going to cost a stam. So if we wait after 30 seconds, then it's free again. And there's things like reduce the cost of roll dodge, breaking free, reduce our elemental status effects. There's more health here. There's stealth, which we really don't care about. We mostly care about Tempered Soul here. Just resurrect. After we resurrect, we have 5% more resources when we come back up. You got increase, reduce the cost of sprint. Can be able to run faster. And then just reduce the cost of blocking, the amount of damage we can block. And then just increase the movement speed of bracing as well as what we kind of have. Sorry about all the coughing in the video, but so yeah, there you have it. So that will wrap things up with the Warden Healer build. Thank you all for watching. If you liked the video, don't forget to like and subscribe. It's free for you to do so. If you want to stay up to date with new content, click the bell so you get notified when I have a new video out for you. You can also follow me over on Twitch and chat with me live, or just come hang out. If you have any questions about the build or suggestions, you can leave them in the comment section down below or over at Twitter. Thank you all again for watching, and I hope to see you in game or in the next video.